Do you eat, sleep, dream about anything related to eye care?
So do we. This is See What We See with Lauren and Martin. My name's Lauren Cashin.
And I'm Martin Lebeau. We want to share anything that's cool about eye care.
We want you to see what we see. So sit back and enjoy.
Well, good morning, everybody. Hi, Lauren. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Martin. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. I mean, how can it not be good? We're recording another podcast of See What We See with Lauren and Martin. So it's always a good day.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that this time we're actually recording it live. Here we are down at beautiful downtown Toronto at the Transitions live tour. And it's just great that we can break away from the tour and meet with a couple of Transitions representatives, actually someone from Transitions and somebody from their Pro Forum group, to talk about a study that they did, a report that they put out. You've read the report. What do you think?
I've read the report, and it's very interesting. Before we jump into that, I want to say again, thank you to Transitions. They're great sponsors of the Ontario Optician Association. They are sponsoring as well our podcast today. So again, thank you, Transitions. Visit them online, visit their website. And if you have the chance to participate any in their seminars, live tour, or events, we highly recommend it. It's always a great time. But yes, that report was very interesting. I think they started conducting that report during the pandemic, and then it was released earlier this year, and we're lucky enough that they brought some people to come and talk to us about it and explain to us what they went through.
Yeah, it's great because, as you know, it's about trends in the industry. And what makes it so relevant is, as you said, it was done not the beginning of the pandemic, not really in the middle, but I was almost going to say the end. Well, I guess the worst part of it's over. We're just living with it now. So yeah, so the facts and figures are very relevant. And of course, I've read it, and some real eye-opening stuff and some useful information. So Martin, let's get started with this. Please introduce our guests.
Well, thanks, Lauren. Please, everybody, welcome Isabelle Tremblay from Transitions Canada and Wael Yassein, local opticians in just outside of Toronto area. Welcome, both of you. How are you today?
Doing great. Excited to be downtown Toronto for the certified live event by Transitions.
That's great.
Excellent. Very good. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Maybe we can start by just having you guys tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll start with you, Wael.
Well, I'm an optician in Oshawa. I'm part of a medical group of ophthalmologists, optometrists, and opticians, primarily an eye clinic, of course, thinking more along the lines of good vision, healthy living, healthy eyes.
Cool. And Isabelle, how about yourself?
Yes, so I've been in the optical industry and working in the great Transitions optical family for about 22 years. So most of my background is mainly in various marketing roles, but I've also been involved on the sales side. So currently I'm their director of sales and marketing for Canada, and I'm excited to be here with you today.
Great. So before we get going, because today we're going to talk about a report that Transitions did called 5 Trends in the Optical Industry. Wael, can you tell me what this Pro Forum is all about that Transitions has? I know it has various numbers of our colleagues on this panel. So maybe you can tell us what it's all about because you're a member.
Pro Forum is a group of dedicated eye care professionals that Transitions use to bounce off new products, ideas, just to get our feedback from an ECP point of view, and makes things more relatable, helps in their marketing area, and they really helps Transitions have a touch on where the market is going and trends, and basically how we as ECP are thinking.
I think that's great because this way, as you develop policies and marketing and everything else, you're getting it from the people who have their feet on the ground that are practicing every day. So Isabelle, why don't you tell us what What's this report all about?
Actually, sorry, but to interrupt, Isabelle, I was going to ask something, Lauren, before.
Yeah.
No, the Pro Forum, is it only Canadian ECPs that's on there, or is it a mix of the United States and Canada?
We can talk about this a little bit.
Right.
The program started in the US many years ago. In Canada, it's a little more recent. We launched it about 4 years ago, and we really made sure in selecting our key opinion leaders and opticians, business owners like Wael, that we had a mix. First of all, representing all different provinces in Canada, but also a mix of opticians and optometrists, and even a mix of the different channels. So eye care professionals working for independent practices, and some working for more larger retail chains as well. As part of the Canada Pro Forum group, we have 12 eye care professionals that are part of the program right now, and we're very grateful to have key opinion leaders and an optician like Wael that is part of this group to really help us plan our future marketing programs, but also give us some feedback on future product innovations for transitions.
That's awesome.
Many times in many different industries, I always think, why don't they just ask the people that are doing it? And so often people sit at the 40th floor office building and think this is where everything is heading. And I always think, why don't they just ask the mother who's changing that diaper? Or why don't they ask the chef that is cooking with that? Transitions literally does ask. They don't pretend to know everything. And they literally ask the eye care community, what do you think?
What's happening? What's going on in your day-to-day practice? What a great approach.
I know. Well, to me, it sounds like they invented what focus groups are all about before even focus group was a popular term to be used, right?
Yeah.
Now, Lauren and I, we've been lucky enough that we've been to a few Transitions Academy. Thank you for always inviting us. And we know you guys are meeting, Pro Forum is meeting at Transitions Academy. But how often throughout the year does the Pro Forum meet? Is that like something that's once a month? Is it twice a year?
We meet about, it's on average, probably 2 to 3 times a year. Of course, during the pandemic, it was more virtual meetings. And now, thankfully, last year, we started meeting in person again. So it's great to see all of these faces and these great customers in person again.
That's great. So let's talk about those 5
Let's
trends.
get into it.
All right.
That's what we're here for.
You
We
go
want to
for
talk about the trends. And let's see if these trends match our practices.
There you go. Right?
How much we're on the right side of things. So, Isabelle, why don't you tell us, why did Transitions do this, and what perspective did you take? I've read it through it, and it starts off setting the scene, which is well into the pandemic, a few years into the pandemic. So, if you could just maybe tell us the reasoning behind it and what you covered, and just give us an overview, and then we could dig into the weeds a little after.
Absolutely, Lauren. So recognizing the issues that the industry was facing during the pandemic, we had long meetings with both the US Pro Forum and the Canada Pro Forum last year, in which we discussed extensively what the issues that the industry was facing. And from these meetings, we established or identified, I should say, 5 key industry trends. And I'll go through them very briefly, and I'm sure you'll have a few questions, and we'll probably have a few comments on these trends as well. But the first trend that we discovered is that we need to do more with every patient. So understanding really the impact of the pandemic. Secondly, we need to keep employees engaged. So addressing the needs with a people's first approach. We know that eye care professionals have always been good at, putting their patients first, but now it's really important that they put their employee first as well, because we know the industry, and I think all industries overall are having, problem with employee retention. So need to kind of focus on finding ways to really engage employees, and encouraging them to have that work-life balance as well. and find way to really keep them engaged and keep them motivated as well. Then the third trend would be about focusing on community, so making a difference locally. And I mean, I could talk about that for minutes, but I think this will be key in having an impact on the previous trend. So making that impact on your community will help too with your employee engagement and making them feel important working for your office as well. Then the fourth industry trend would be about keeping an eye on a sustainable future. So offering products to meet the demand, and we know that patients will prioritize products that that focus on that as well in a big way, and they'll be willing to pay more for those products as well. And then the last trend would be about embracing a hybrid approach, so connecting with patients online and offline as well.
So that's cool. So that's an overview of what we're going to talk about. So without jumping in any particular order now, I'd like to bring up something I'm really interested in. This Isabelle mentioned it, work-life balance. That's a term we've heard so much lately in the last few years. And we see things have changed since the pandemic. We went through just the shtick of, appointments with patients and that. But here we're coming out of the pandemic, and as you said in your study, we have to worry about the health of the dispenser too, of the optician. And we are so bent on just make sure that patient's happy at any cost. And, there's always been burnout, but now for some reason, because of a pandemic, people are burning out even more. So that we have to look at the health of our staff. So, Wael, in your practice, even, have you changed anything? I'm sure during the pandemic, you had a certain way of doing business. And have you kept that up as we've come out of the pandemic? And is it a little more focused on the health, the well-being of your staff?
Well, fortunately, and not by design, our practice, my brother's one of the ophthalmologists. Other good friend is the other ophthalmologist. Optometrists are close friends. We vacation together. Our kids have gone to school together. The staff have all gone to each other's, functions, and, they show up at family weddings. So we've created that environment long before the pandemic where if somebody wants time off or somebody wants to leave early, nobody really cares. And we've always kept that very casual. It's been a very close-knit, we've had a very low turnover of staff in the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. So when the pandemic came, it really brought this to the surface, what we've been doing all these years, certainly not by design, has now benefited us during the pandemic. Somebody didn't feel very well, if somebody needed to stay home to take care of somebody, everybody was always understanding and pitched in. So it was a very smooth transition for us. But I can see if we had not done that prior to the pandemic, if our mindset was, clock in, 40-hour work week, etc., I think that really would have made the last couple of years very difficult. And I'm glad just by our own easygoing personalities, prior to the pandemic, this really helped us along, and we've just kept that going.
So obviously we all changed the way we did business during the pandemic. Most opticians who never booked appointments for their patients were booking appointments. And then we're hearing stories, some practices are continuing that process. Do you have anything coming out of the pandemic that you instituted during the pandemic that just, I don't know how hairy it gets in your practice when it's a busy day and there's a dispensing and the showing frames and all that. But a lot of our colleagues found that when a specific time was booked for a patient, that just seemed to slow things down a bit, calm things down a bit. And now everyone's looking at the way they do business as they came out of the pandemic, and they're incorporating and retaining some of these changes. So did you guys change any of the way you did business, especially on the optician side? Because obviously with optometrists and ophthalmologists, you were booking appointments. but as far as your walk-ins and stuff like that. So has anything been retained or changed?
To do some appointments, and that made it easier in a way that we knew when a person was coming. They were allotted a certain amount of time. If we happened to go over that time and somebody was waiting, there was television, some interactive, some reading material. People were very understanding. I mean, we were not the only ones going through the pandemic in that building. The whole world was going through the same pandemic. So people rallied together. If somebody wasn't feeling well and they had this appointment booked for 6 months to see the ophthalmologist and they weren't feeling well that day, we let them know it's okay. You will not wait another 6 months.
Right.
As soon as you feel better, you call and we'll have your appointment right away. We made it a very relaxed environment where people were, it's okay if I'm late. It's okay if I'm not feeling well today. It's okay if I have to leave early. I mean, there was a lot of, it's okay.
It's and you're absolutely right. I feel like I've seen that same experience as you have, Wael. But we're still seeing everywhere we go nowadays, oh, don't be rude to our staff on the little signs. And I'm like, I've never experienced that myself. And same as you, I thought we were all in the same storm, right? And we all had to go through things. And I think a lot of people we're patient and understanding of everybody else, but we're still seeing some of these little pockets here and there. Anyway, I'm digressing here a little bit. I was going to ask you, Isabelle, we got Wael's perspective as an independent practice, how to maintain your employees being happy and healthy. But what about some of those bigger corporations that numbers are big key to their running their company? So you have to kind of get a middle ground between customer first and then employee first. How does your pro firm decide to manage that? Or what came out of this?
Yeah, things that we discussed during the program meeting about, employee engagement or retaining your staff was more about things like employee recognition, how to develop your employees, or creating incentive programs to really keep them engaged, and maybe going to some of our other trends that we discovered through this piece that we published through the pro forum would be about to your involvement with the community, which become really important, because we know that an increasing number of Canadians, actually 22% in fact, are relying on the local charity for even meeting their essential needs. So for for a corporation, whether it's a large or a small one, to get involved with the community, we think it can be have a serious impact on the engagement of the employees and how proud they feel, and how their sense of belonging to a company or an office.
I think something else that came out of the pandemic with the shortage in every field of finding employees, that now what you're talking about is even more important, because we have to retain employees. We have to attract employees. And for some reason, we were having trouble hiring people before, and now the pandemic's over. And where did everybody go? When you ask the experts, they say, well, they're just going to other fields and this and that. But do you know any fields that have an abundance of people working? No. And opticianry wise, it's just, the baby boomers are retiring and tons of new stores opening because everyone sees an opportunity with the population aging. So, of course, everyone's making a fortune in the optical business. So, and everyone's getting older. So let's open stores, right? So I think more than ever now, not only do you just have to pay higher wages, but you have to make an environment that really keeps your staff healthy mentally and physically. Well, it sounds like you've had that atmosphere for years. It's just the way it's all come together. It's a family business, right? Literally in many more ways than one. So I think it's focusing a little bit more on our opticians.
And that's a good thing. People have to rethink how they manage people.
Yeah.
Not just their business. It's no longer about managing your dispensary, your office. It's how are you going to manage people? How can you become a better person and create better people?
Well, even in your report here, you talk about community. That people, I thought from what I saw in the news, that the pandemic separated people. And, it's the old thing, we're all in the same boat, but we're not all in the same size boat. Some are in canoes and some are in cruise lines, right? So, but you show some stats, Isabelle, in the report saying that people are more generous since the pandemic and people are having a little more sense of community.
Yes, I think in general, I think there was and I don't have all the stats, and you can edit this portion out. But I think actually there's right after the pandemic, people were contributing a little less because of the economical situation. However, they do feel once you do invest in your community, get involved, then I think it's better for your employee retention. And I think the part that would be very important for me to mention is that I want to say at Transitions Optical, we have a long history of focusing on community. We've been a partner of the Eye Disease Foundation for over 10 years and have raised over, we've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for eye disease research, and we sponsored vision screening in schools where children were able to get access to eyeglasses, and that was our actually recently done too through a vision clinic in Victoria with the One Sight Vision Foundation. So we think it's really, really important to give back and get involved in the community. And I know that a lot of eye care professionals across the country are doing a great job at giving back.
I think you're absolutely right. And we're seeing more and more how people find it important to be part of the community, especially as opticians. And it helps promoting our profession and promoting good high healthcare as well. So definitely commend you guys for keeping up the great work. You guys are a great corporate citizen when it comes to this. And we want to be part of it. We are part of it. And we're going to keep being part of it as well for a long, long time. Now, so another part of the 5 trends that was interesting to me is about sustainability.
Sustainability.
I know, it's one of those words I still can't say. That's when the French accent kicks in, right?
Yeah.
So sustainable future. Well, what does that mean for you? I'll put you on the spotlight right there for a second.
That's a really good question. In my own mind, what I've done in the last few years is think where I'm getting my products from. So I can pick up the phone now and call one of our suppliers who is 15 minutes down the road. Working with Esler Labs, they're 20 minutes down the road. We've sourced out a company in Montreal who is a lovely woman that designs frames made in Canada, designed by women. And if you look, there are not a lot of frame companies that are in Canada. We have 3. And I don't know if there's any more. Years ago, there were dozens. So it's nice now that, my rep lives 10 minutes away and their head office is in Ajax. And, I don't think there's a need to go around the world to get product. We need to
Shop local.
Not just shop local, but be part of our local team.
Yeah.
Because the ripple effect, if I have to sign a check for a supplier, I feel better than going to someone in the same province, 20 miles down the road. They employ people, their kids play hockey at a local arena with my kids. We no longer need to go around the world, or we can do a lot of things locally. We just got into a habit of needing to go to Europe or go to the States when we need to start looking in our own backyard.
So basically invest locally, right?
Absolutely.
Investing the people, your neighbors and everything else. We all like exotic stuff, right? And maybe that's why we've gone to Europe for frames and everything else.
General Motors had a billboard years ago that I'll never forget. I was a kid. I don't know if you might even remember, Lauren. And it was everywhere. And it said, buy your car that your neighbor helped to build.
Yeah.
You remember that?
So true. Yes.
That was such a profound, you could never put up that billboard today.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, General Motors in Oshawa employed 18,000 people.
Yeah.
And I knew lots of people that they did not allow anything other than a General Motors vehicle parked in their driveway. And these billboards all over town. And there's a lot has to be said about that. Buy the car that your neighbor helped to build.
So true. So another definition of sustainability would be from the environmental side of it. And, it says in a report that some people will buy a frame that's made from recycled goods, that they are interested that when the acetate was made, it was done in a process. It didn't go through a ridiculous amount of water and that. Whereas a few years ago, the odd frame company would come along and say, hey, this is all sustainable. It's blah, blah, blah. It's environmentally friendly. I found in our practice that people say, oh, it's very nice, but it wasn't piqued the interest. But Isabelle, in this report, it says that people do look favorably on companies that do that. And even sustainability, when you talk about local, I thought you were going to go to the point where you're saying, even when I have to run down to the lab to pick up a job, at least I'm not burning a tank of gas traveling across the city. But Isabelle, from the report, do you have any other information you can give us about what people are doing or transitions are doing for environmental sustainability, which is another thing?
So on this topic, definitely, and we see overall, and it's just not just in the optical industry, we see that consumers, especially the younger consumers, millennials, are looking they're really cautious about their purchasing behavior because it does have an impact on the planet. So it's not only in how the product is made, but also into their whole purchasing experience and what that looks like and what negative impacts it could have on the planet. So I think that lens manufacturers like Transitions Optical and in our greater family as well as OPTICAL have definitely some really key important initiatives in place to really reduce their negative impact on the future of our planet. Like whether you look at the manufacturer process, reducing the amount of water or hydro that is being used. So these are all things that are important for to implement so that we all have a better and positive impact on the planet.
That's cool. So that's great that you covered that in the report. And because I'm sure a lot of people read the report don't realize that their patients are looking for this, that there are a lot of people who care about the environment.
Yeah, we're finding out there's more and more companies as well, like even designer names now that will promote some of their products off their line, especially I'm thinking of iframes right now, right? Frames that they are sourced more in a sustainable way. So yeah, it's probably something that's going to be here to stay.
1 or 2 more patients out of 10 who that's important to them.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? I mean, from a feasibility study, from a cost point of view, it's why not?
Yeah, exactly. Something else you covered in the, if I can move on, Martin. Martin's a director, my boss usually in these things, and I start jumping all over because that's my mind.
I just give him a dirty look.
Just don't kick me like you usually do. The hybrid model more. I know when we first started seeing more and more people buying online, some of the companies when they were starting to, the first time I heard the term omni-channel, and I heard it from someone at Essilor when they were educating us as to don't just sit in your store and watch the world go by. The world is changing. So it's got to be omni-channel. And in your report here, you talk about you can't just sit in your store because when you start looking at statistics, people do shop online. We're fortunate that we're in a touchy-feely product that people like to try on and look in the mirror and pose and all that. So they might do their research online, but hopefully they come in and buy from you. Now, people are buying eyeglasses online, and of course, during the pandemic, there was more of that. But you touch upon this in the report. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I do think it's important for eye care professionals, for their offices, as well as lens manufacturers and all optical suppliers to have extensive information on their website, because we know that consumers are going to be looking for information online before they actually walk into the store to purchase a product. So it's important to have both that online and in-person experience. At Transitions Optical, we know that consumers are interested in learning more about light sensitivity. In fact, 80% of them are looking for more information on that topic. So we created a light sensitivity quiz on transitions.com where consumers can take that quiz, and then they get directed on an eye care professional locator where they can find an eye care professional near them. And we also know that lens colors are very important to us to make our brand more trendy. So we've also created a virtual mirror where consumers can see themselves virtually wearing the different Transitions colors as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention, that you guys have interactive stuff online for patients to do their research. So, but it's so true. When people come in now, and I guess it's in every field, people have a lot of information when they walk in. You're not educating from zero. They're coming in with a lot of background.
It shocks me how, and I used to think it was a certain demographic, but it's not. Patient walks in, and you better be on the top of your game and have gone to continuing education class, read the monthly magazine, because patients are coming in, whether they're having surgery done, a routine refraction, will my pupils be dilated today or not, to this is my issue. I've done some homework and I know this lens is available. Do you have it? And if you don't have it, they'll find somebody who does.
Good or bad, you go to the doctor, they don't like Dr. Google. That's for sure.
Yeah. But it's funny, Will, you're saying this, and I'm remembering the stories when I first started in the optical industry, and they would warn you about certain type of client that if you see something around their pinky ring, he's just like, be ready to answer a lot of questions.
I know who you're talking about.
I'm not going to say the word, right?
It's our favorite patient, because
exactly
they appreciate there's value in their product,
yes,
in their eyewear, in their lens, and they are willing to pay a premium for it. There's an educated consumer. They are the best consumer, in my opinion.
There was a clothing store in the Buffalo Station says an educated consumer is our best customer, right? And they used to walk in, by the way, you notice the ring,
yes, but
it's the manila folder with all the Post-its inside from the previous Saturday, with all the points you made all stuck on the inside. Had quite a few, but you're right, they do appreciate, they buy the good stuff. Absolutely. Because they like the technology and they'll go for the latest technology.
And you usually always ended up having a good conversation with that particular patient as well.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. People will look at their phone 2 minutes or even in their waiting room as they're waiting to be served by you. Yeah. And they come up with these questions. And then you add Chat GPT to this, and they'll tell you what questions to ask your health professional, right?
We probably encourage it. We have information on our website about whatever they think they want to ask their eye care professional. It's on our website. When they're in that waiting room, we have a big screen TV, and it's on that big screen TV. They appreciate it, and they're willing to pay for it. Yeah. They're willing to pay for, this dispensary, this office. They know what they're talking about. I trust my eyes with them.
I think more than ever now, people have to become their own advocate when it comes to healthcare, because everybody has worked, they worked hard. And you could slip through a little bit, or somebody just doesn't give you that fact. So, as you said, I think what your practice is doing is wonderful. You're telling them what questions to ask. Be sure you know this, because again, you want them to know when they walk out, they should feel good that they were not only examined, but they learned something and that everything was covered. And they don't get home and go, oh, I don't know anything about, this condition he talked about or whatever. So, yeah, so the internet, whereas maybe some people say they fear it because the patient knows too much. Whereas in reality, as you're saying, and I have found too, again, an educated consumer is good if you want to give top of the line service selling the latest in technology and have it when they ask for it.
Honestly, Lauren, I don't think ECPs are scared of people knowing too much. I think what it is ECPs are scared that the patient got the wrong information at the end of the day. Just like any other thing that's online, you have to do your research and make sure that it's the proper information. Because once they think they know it, now it's hard to break that and rebuild that trust with your patient. Anyways, again, we're digressing off the topic a little bit, but those are all good conversations.
It's optical, and you get together a few people in the office.
It is.
Right? Without even saying, a lady came into the store today, and my wife used to make fun of me because those stories around the dinner table. She says, I don't want to hear another lady came into the store today story.
So we'll make sure that this report is available and we'll attach it to the podcast so everybody can have a look. But what's next for the Pro Forum, Isabelle? What's the next topic you guys are going to be working on?
It's top secret, Martin.
It's top secret. I can't ask. Uh-oh.
Well, we just had a meeting recently at Transitions Academy in May, and we'll have another meeting with our Pro Forum group in August. So I can't confirm at this point whether we'll publish another piece, but what I'd like to say is that we're again very thankful for this smart and very insightful group of eye care professionals that we work with in Canada, because they really help us plan our marketing programs, and also they really give us insightful feedback on new product innovations for transitions, because we keep looking at the future and want to raise the bar for the photochromic technology.
Well, I guess that's a good cliffhanger, right? So people, if they want to know more, they'll have to listen to the next podcast
with the next season.
Exactly. Now, if an ECP, an optician, or an optometrist would like to be part of the Pro Forum, how do they go about doing that? Or is it something that Transitions pick their own, they have individuals that they want to go see, or then people can, an individual put their hand up and say, I'd like to apply
for the job.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, I would say the best way would be to contact Transitions customer service. The Pro Forum members usually stay with us from a year to 2 year at a time. So depending on the year, we don't always have availability, because we want to keep that group to I guess not too large, because if you have too many great eye care professionals in the same room and they're all really smart, that those discussions can it's harder for everybody to get their voice heard. So that's why we want to keep that group to a specific number of eye care professionals. But yes, if people or eye care professionals are interested into being part of the program, I would recommend to contact us through Transitions customer service.
Cool.
And from my point of view, we as eye care professionals, we all think we know everything. And I'm not.
I don't.
But when you're in a group of motivated, smart people, somebody always brings something to the table that nobody thought of or didn't think it was as important. That I know, Isabelle, when I leave, I learned something, and not just from Transitions, and I always do, but I learned something with the group of people that are in the room, and we've talked, and I've gone back and implemented things in our office that I heard one of the other Pro Forum members say. So it really is, it's an education for me to be with a group of eye care professionals who they know a lot, and they know more than me. It's very humbling.
And you know what? I think it's great that Transitions, the way you put together the committee, where you have opticians, optometrists, industry people, because the term multiple perspectives. So it's not just new ideas, but you throw out an idea, and the perspectives are so, like in your practice, Wael, how many people can talk about what you just told us, the setup of your practice with the players there? What a different perspective than, let's say, my practice where we have an optometrist, coming in a few days a week, and we're high volume, and high end stuff. But I want to hear a perspective of you, because I might come back and I have an idea of how to move our patients through the optometry clinic a little differently. So I think multiple perspectives is where it's at. And this way, it's not just, as you mentioned, someone sitting on the 40th floor of a building telling us what we should think and what we should do. So it's great. Kudos to Transitions for being so diverse in your panels. Always, actually, when we go to Transitions Academy, all the people up on stage, right? These panels, there's always, I don't always agree with everyone up there, but there's the multiple perspectives, right?
And so many ideas as well get created from having those conversations with multiple people instead of having like you and me talking all the time. Well, let's introduce more people.
Enough? We've been around a long time.
I have to start seeing other people, Lauren. Sorry.
Oh, I knew this day was coming.
Yeah.
Walk in thinking I know a lot, and I walk out thinking I don't know that much.
Yeah, and that's good, and that's really they always say that's a good thing when you walk out saying I didn't know that, right?
No. Surround yourself with other people, right, that are as smart as you or smarter even, and have those conversations. You'll learn so much that way. Right?
Yeah.
Well, no, that was great. Great conversation.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys inviting us down.
Thanks for having us.
And it's always a great conversation with our Transitions friends. And I love it. The last one that was on diversity, which it was really cool. Now we're talking about this. I can't wait, hopefully, for our next podcast with your next endeavor that you're doing. And can't wait for the next Transitions Academy next year.
That's right.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, yes, we always do. Well, again, thank you, Isabelle. Thank you, Wael. Really appreciate you taking the time with us today. And we'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
All the best.
Well, Martin, that was an eye-opener. We've read the report before, but it's kind of cool when you sit down and actually discuss it in person with the people, the authors of it. And I think it was great that we're sitting down with Isabelle and Wael.
Absolutely. I mean, reading a report is one thing. Getting somebody's actual perspective in different areas, Isabelle being, from transition, working at the office and meeting a lot of people, and Wael being in a practice himself, you see the different angles of it. And I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. And as you mentioned, when you asked during the interview about the Pro Forum, we highly encourage opticians to get involved, to let the Transitions know if you're interested, to get on that committee, because then your voice is heard. And I think it's great that they do go out into the community and not ask just opticians, but optometry and actually the ophthalmologists as to what their perspectives are on industry and on the different issues that they go and address when they do their studies.
I agree with you. Focus groups are so important nowadays, right? It's important to know what the person on the ground floor sees and understand of what's happening. It is great that you have somebody overseeing everything in the office from a view on top, but they don't feel the same experience that somebody that's on the ground floor. I think it's great for a company like Transition, a great corporate citizen, to go out and dig deep and ask the right questions and ask the right opinions of people like you and I.
Yeah, and I think a big takeaway from this is that the market is changing. Attitudes have changed, consumer behavior is constantly changing, but something that I think is really cool still is that people are walking into stores and they still want to engage in person. Again, what the report showed, and we kind of knew this before, that people do their shopping online, but we're very fortunate that we sell and dispense a touchy-feely product where it really, you want to get it on your face and feel it, look in the mirror, different angles, and see if it's going to be comfy. So I think we're very fortunate that not only do we sell a product, but we can promote ourselves and our service and our relationships with our patients.
Couldn't agree more with you there, Lauren. But we invite, we'll attach the report, the trends, the 5 trends with our podcast. We always recommend our viewers or listeners, sorry, I should say, to have a look at the report and let us know what they think. Put a comment on their social media and let us know, and then we'll happily transfer those comments as well to Transitions. But again, I want to thank Isabelle Tremblay, Wael Yassein, Transitions for sponsoring this podcast. It was a great conversation. It was nice to be live again. It was nice actually sitting beside you, Lauren, today to record this podcast instead of being, I don't know, 200 kilometers away now. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was great sitting beside you too. We could go back to you kicking me in the leg when I'm talking too much instead of just doing the cut sign on the Zoom call. So yeah, Martin, it's great.
I thought it was nice to you today since it was your birthday. I didn't kick you once.
That's true. So yeah, thanks for sparing me that. So I guess one day. Anyways, so anyway, Martin, that's cool. I'm looking forward to our next podcast. It's a really good one, and that's coming up real soon. So we invite everybody to keep watching. Oh, and by the way, everybody, we hit another milestone in our podcast. We've gone above 5,000 downloads, which we're told is a nice milestone. So, hey, Martin, we're going to be stars one day.
Sure. I won't hold my breath, but sure. I'm happy that we get to do what we do, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Anyways, Martin, great to see you today, and see you on our next podcast.
It was great to see you as well, Lauren. And all our listeners, thank you again for listening. Till next time, to See What We See with Lauren and Martin. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to See What We See. This podcast is brought to you by the Ontario Opticians Association. For more information or to become a member, go to our website at www.ontario-opticians.com. For all the latest updates, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Ontario Opticians Association, on Twitter, OOA_frontline, and on LinkedIn, Ontario-Opticians-Association. Don't miss an episode of See What We See, and subscribe to this podcast on your favorite streaming service. Thank you from the Ontario Opticians Association, the voice of opticians for 75 years.